4, anything over 3 is considered a major hurricane. Right now, the projection, and remember, the storm continues to shift slightly south, slightly north, and so that ends up changing where the cone of uncertainty could be. It changes the projection. Sometimes it can also change the time frame of when the storm will make landfall. Excuse me. So right now, prior to getting to landfall on the western portion of the state in the Gulf near Tampa, it would be a Category 3 by Wednesday 8 p.m. with sustained winds of 125 miles per hour. It would be on land Thursday 8 a.m. 100 miles per hour. Mind you, even on land, this is still a Category 2 hurricane. Leaving out of the state Thursday evening, 70 miles per hour, still right on the cusp for a Category 1 hurricane. Remember, tropical storm force winds will typically be between 38 miles per hour up to about 73 miles per hour sustained. And when we talk about sustained winds, that means that that wind lasts for at least 60 seconds. When we're referring to sustained winds. So this is the current track based upon the most recent update that we just received with the advisory at 11 a.m. Now, in addition to this, I want you all to be aware of the fuel that is needed for storms like this one, for a hurricane. Warm weather, warm sea surface temperatures specifically. Also, you don't want to have a lot of wind, and this storm has had the ability to grow and develop over time in that type of an environment where there hasn't been a lot of wind shear to interrupt the development of this storm, allowing it to strengthen as well. It will decrease in strength. That is anticipated for it to then drop down to a Category 3. Back here at home, it is a beautiful day for us. We have a lot of advisories, watches, and warnings that are in effect, and I'm going to go through each one of those with you so that you're aware of what you can anticipate and understand the scope of the storm. But right now, from southeast Georgia into northeast Florida, it is a very beautiful day for us, which may be very deceiving for some of you and give you the impression that this hurricane is not going to have an impact on our area, but it will. So first, let's go over some of the advisory concerns that we have. Right now, a couple isolated cells moving through Flagler County, getting some rain there. But also, let's take a look at the purple color that we have that is in particular along the coast, along I-95, all the way out west to the St. Johns River, making its way from Nassau County down into Putnam County. This is the storm surge warning in particular. The storm surge warning goes all the way until Monday of next week, and this is for various counties. Again, so Putnam, St. Johns, Duval, Nassau, you're all a part of this concern. Also portions of Clay as well, and also portions of Flagler along the beach, just east of I-95. So that's the first one. We have the storm surge warning. I'm going to go over the details on the storm surge, but I want you to be aware that over the next 24 to 48 hours, as we do various forecasts, you're going to see this and wonder, these are not the typical colors that we see when we're doing like the flash flood warning, things of that nature. We do have a flash flood warning as well. So that's the storm surge. We also have the hurricane warning. This is in effect through Monday. 20 to 60 nautical miles off the coast. We also have the hurricane watch for multiple counties. You're going to see that in this sandy brown color. That's going to go through Monday. We have the hurricane warning for various counties from Putnam going down further south, Flagler, into areas that don't necessarily include our viewing area as well, but then we still have the tropical storm warnings for places like Alachua, also Columbia, and a lot of our inland counties. So we're going to go over that. That actually stretches all the way out to Perry. So we have that in effect. Most of these are all in effect through Monday. So I want you to keep that in mind. Why do we know that this is likely going to be a storm headed towards Tampa? The models are agreeing more than they have ever agreed before on exactly where this storm is going to go. And so as you can see, multiple models here, people call them spaghetti models, but multiple models that we have when it comes to this storm moving through Tampa, Orlando, off the coast into the Atlantic, and then still being a Category 1 hurricane once it moves offshore. So let's take a look again. We see the track currently, the most recent update, sustained winds 150 miles per hour. Excuse me. And as we take a look along, you can see maintaining as a Category 4, headed northeast towards the state of Florida, then downgrading to a Category 3 Wednesday evening, 125 miles sustained, but still making landfall likely as a Category 3 hurricane, cutting across the state as a Category 2 hurricane. Winds projected at possibly 100 miles per hour, still sustained. This will be on Thursday, 8 a.m. So pay attention to this time frame, which is really important. That means that some of the most dangerous portions of this storm will occur in the middle of the night while you're likely going to sleep. Many of you probably won't sleep just out of concern of what's happening for the storm. You may want to track what's happening with the storm, and we will have continual updates for you. But again, keep in mind, Wednesday, 8 p.m., Category 1, as it is approaching landfall near the Tampa Bay area. Winds are at sustained at 125 miles per hour, making landfall. And still, and likely, and typically, when you have a storm that makes landfall, when a hurricane makes landfall, it starts to lose some of its strength, and slow down due to friction. But still maintaining a Category 2 at 100 miles per hour sustained winds on Thursday at 8 a.m. Please keep in mind that we're not even factoring in any area that may have a heavy downpour from this, or any other potential normal tidal flooding that would impact us as well. So this is what we're working with as far as when this storm will be impacting our area. Now, people have said, well, I can see that this storm path, the cone of uncertainty, Jacksonville's not in the cone of uncertainty. Regardless of the fact that the storm is not within the cone of uncertainty, doesn't mean that we're not going to be affected. So please do not come up with that theory. We will still have rain, we will still be impacted by storm surge, and will be impacted by strong winds. Taking a look at right now what we're dealing with, we got some winds coming from the northeast, and it's been a beautiful day for us. But as we look at one of our forecast models again for this, watch how this storm, before it even makes landfall, we're already getting rain and wind. This is on Wednesday. Watch, the storm hasn't even made landfall yet. And look at the outer bands and the impact that it's already having on the state and southeast Georgia, northeast Florida. Now take a look. This is Thursday, 7:45 in the morning. This storm hasn't even cut across the state yet. And you can still see we're getting heavy downpours. And some of these heavy downpours are occurring right in the areas of concern that we have along the coast, in addition to the St. Johns River. Let's continue watching as it moves across the state. It is now the projection of Thursday, 1 in the afternoon, just past 1 in the afternoon. Look at these strong winds that are coming back on shore off of the rotation of this hurricane. We're still getting rain Thursday afternoon. Now, according to this model, the system would have began to move offshore by Thursday afternoon, but we're still getting strong winds, and we're still getting some light to moderate rain. So it continues to move out, it clears out in the evening. But again, let's take a closer look at some of the rain bands as they move through. This is Thursday evening, and this is finally Friday afternoon. So this gives you a good idea of what we're dealing with. As far as the concerns for storm surge, whether it be along the coast or for the river, that is also a concern. Right now, looking at some of the gauges along the St. Johns River, most of them are in good condition. 2 of them are yellow. The yellow essentially means that some form of action needs to be taken to protect your property. These river level gauges are going to shift dramatically over the next 24 to 48 hours. So again, the ones that are in green simply state at this point everything is good. Yellow means action. Minor would of course be an expression of flooding in that area, minor flooding in that area. The red is for moderate, and the purple is for major flooding. So over the next 24 to 48 hours, actually the next 72 hours, we'll be able to see how the rain is impacting those areas. Now, keep in mind, today's a beautiful day, but we already have a high rip current risk from those winds that are coming from the northeast. So this is not a good time before the hurricane comes for you to decide to go out in the ocean and take a swim. This is a time to get prepared for the storm, please do not utilize this time to put your life at risk in the ocean. Now, looking at the hurricane force winds, we continue teeter-tottering as this storm continues going north-south, north-south within the scope, which is about 20% for hurricane force winds in our area. But the storm surge threat, this is of great concern. It's a variation between 1 to 3 feet or 3 to 6 feet, depending on where you are. So, taking a look along the coast, you can see 1 to 3 feet. But then at the same time, coming further inland, closer to the intercoastal, you can see it's 3 to 6 feet as well. Now let's take a look near the St. Johns River. This is yet another area where it's 3 to 6 feet. If you flooded during Hurricane Helene, you will likely be impacted in an even more extensive way than you were with Hurricane Helene with Hurricane Milton. So all along southeast Georgia and northeast Florida, I want you guys to really pay attention to this here. The yellow is 1 to 3 feet as far as storm surge threat. Any area that's in the orange is a 3 to 6 foot concern for storm surge. So give you a moment to take a look at that. This goes all the way up to Brunswick, through Jacksonville, St. Augustine, all the way down to Daytona Beach. So areas like Putnam, Flagler, St. John's, yes, you are included in this. And actually, our southern counties are of greater concern, being impacted by the accumulation of rain as well, in addition to the fact that there's a concern for the storm surge threat. So again, right now at this point, and storm surge is a very big issue. So we have 1 to 3 feet along the yellow. That is along our entire coast. And also, just west of I-95, you can see it here, areas surrounding the interstates as well, and any area that would normally be an extension of the waterway for the St. Johns River, the intercoastal, or from the ocean. So if you received any flooding during Irma, you may want to consider that this could be another time frame where you would be impacted as well. I can think back to covering Hurricane Irma and having water up to my waist, but I specifically remember areas like Julington Creek that were impacted. So we're going to be monitoring this closely. But if you are in any of these areas, from Brunswick all the way through Daytona Beach, keep in mind, especially if you are, here's the river right here. So here's the mouth going down through St. Johns River, all the way through down into Putnam County. This is the St. Johns River. If you live along the St. Johns River, the concern is that you will have a 3 to 6 foot storm surge. The outer areas along the interstate, but also the intercoastal, is a concern of 3 to 6 feet as well. So if you live near a waterway, if you live close to a body of water, whether it is the river, the ocean, the intercoastal, any of the waterways, and we have many throughout southeast Georgia, northeast Florida, you're going to be at a 3 to 6 foot storm surge threat, 1 to 3 just on the perimeter of that. So I just wanted to take a lot of time to go over it, but I didn't want any of the counties to feel left out, especially if you're along the coast. Now the peak storm surge, we know, and we also looked at the spaghetti models in addition to the various models that we have been looking at for a couple days now that have said that Tampa Bay was going to have the direct hit. So we'll definitely have tropical storm winds. But in addition to that, there will be strong winds as well impacting that area. We have a 20 to 40% chance of getting some strong tropical storm force winds. And you can see that right here in this area, the key of the green and the yellow. Now, as far as the rain forecast, let's take a look at the possibility for accumulation over time. So we'll start from the least to the greatest amount. So Valdosta, you're looking at maybe 1/100 of an inch. Homerville, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch for Waycross. And you can see how it shifts almost like a gradient based upon the track of Hurricane Milton. So Brunswick, you're looking at about 2 inches. St. Mary's, McClinney, you're looking at 3 inches. Jacksonville, Mayport, you're looking at 5 inches. Gainesville, you're looking at about 4 inches of rain accumulating over the next 72 hours. Orange Park, Green Cove Springs, St. Augustine, you're looking at about 7 inches, as well as Palatka. And then Palm Coast, you're looking at 10 inches of rain. So this is what we're working with as far as the rainfall accumulation over the next 72 hours. So today through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, leaving out through Friday. So this is again what we're looking at as far as accumulation. Take a look at the difference between Brunswick, Georgia at 2 inches, Mayport at 5, St. Augustine at 7, and then 10 inches likely for Palm Coast. So even if you are along the coast, the rain just from the storm, we're not talking about the surge, but the rain just coming from the storm, this could have a very drastic difference for you depending on where you're located in southeast Georgia, northeast Florida. So we do have the concern for flooding as well. That is going to move through Thursday, probably through Thursday evening, and will likely be extended. And I wanted to mention this just as far as what we're currently dealing with. Again, as I mentioned, it's a beautiful day. And you can see we just have a couple clouds moving through the area, not really much. It's a perfect day, but it's a perfect day to get ready for the storm. Temperatures are currently in the mid to low 80s. Lake City here at 81, McClenny, Homerville at 81 as well as St. Mary's and Brunswick. Mayport, you're at 85. St. Augustine, Jacksonville, and Palatka, you're at 84. 83 degrees for Green Cove Springs and Orange Park, 79 for Palm Coast. Right now, let's take a look at our current wind speeds. It's breezy along the coast. In some areas, even more breezy, 20 miles per hour is what's currently being recorded for Jacksonville at the airport, 17 for Mayport. St. Augustine, you're at 18. Palatka, you're at 10. Gainesville at 12. And then much calmer winds for Lake City and McClenny as well as St. Mary's. Tonight, our temperatures will not be bad at all. So if you still find yourself getting prepared after you get off work, going into the late evening, this will be some very comfortable temperatures in the mid to low 70s for Gainesville, Palatka, Orange Park, Jacksonville, St. Mary's, Green Cove Springs. It'll be slightly warmer along the coast for Mayport, St. Augustine, and Palm Coast, and even cooler in the upper low 60s for Lake City, McClenny, and Brunswick at 69. Waycross here at 65. So tomorrow's temperatures will be in the mid to upper 70s, low 80s across the board. That's what we'll be working with. If you have any last minute changes, which we hope you don't, today is the day that you really need to get prepared for everything as far as the storm. In addition to that, I wanted to talk in detail about some of the other concerns that we're seeing. So we just heard from the mayor of Jacksonville, Mayor Donna Deegan. She was just having a conversation about some of the concerns specifically in that county, but also going through a list of places that you can go if you are in an area that will likely flood for the case of evacuation. So remember, we do have that flood watch that's in place. The flash flooding that could occur when we have some of those outer bands, and even once the storm comes ashore, where there's some really heavy downpours concentrated in a particular area. So keep that in mind. Also overnight, keep in mind the fact that we're going to get a lot of rain overnight during the time when you would normally be asleep. So for that reason, you may go to sleep and not see a lot of rain. You may want to set an alarm to wake up in the middle of the night just to check and make sure that you're not being surrounded by water, so that you can make proactive decisions and do what needs to be done. But the other thing that officials have been saying, that is, if you don't evacuate from an area where you're being asked to evacuate by the time frame, by the deadline, that you may have to hunker down where you are. That is the other concern. Each of the counties have their own website. So for example, City of Jacksonville, they have their own emergency prepared division. They have their own website. So just keep that in mind, depending on what county that you're living in, that you can go to their Facebook pages and also simply Google to find the information for each one of those counties. But if you go to news4jax.com, we actually have put together a listing county by county to help you out with information that you may have. Every county is going to be different. Every county may respond slightly different to the concerns of impact for that area. So make sure that you also visit that on our website at news4jax.com. Over the next couple of days, once the storms come in, keep in mind that those rain chances have jumped significantly. On Sunday, I was projecting about a 40-60% chance for rain, depending on where this model would be. Those have now jumped up to about 70 to 80% chance when it comes to rain. So I just want to go over everything one more time as far as the concerns that we may have. I know many of you have been asking a lot of questions. Keep in mind, it's very important that the peak storm surge, it could be approximately 2 to 4 feet in some areas of the St. Johns River, and then 3 to 5 feet along the coast, maybe even up to 6 feet along the coast, according to the National Hurricane Center, but also based upon our models. We also have a rainfall potential, about 70 to 80%, as the storm makes its way toward land, on landfall, and then cuts across the state. But specifically as far as rain for us, keep in mind that we're looking at approximately 2 to about 8 inches of rain, excuse me, depending on where you are. That's the broad projection. This can potentially change, but not by much, if the storm continues to shift, whether it be shifting south or shifting north. And of course, we will keep you updated with that. There will be another update coming up, I believe, at 1 o'clock. So I'm going to get prepared, check in for that. I know we just had an advisory that came through at 11 a.m. So we will have another update that's going to come up in about, I think, the next 5 minutes or so. But nevertheless, at this point, I am going to go and create another update for you. I'll have another update probably in the next hour and a half, if not in the next hour. Make sure you visit our website, news4jax.com. We're also going to have a phone bank from 4 to 7 p.m. tonight. You can call and ask any questions you may have that are very specific to your county, even potentially your neighborhood, when it comes to Hurricane Milton. Currently, again, it is a Category 4 storm. It is of great concern. It will definitely have an impact on lives, making landfall near Tampa, cutting across the state through Orlando and the Daytona Beach area before leaving offshore as a Category 1 hurricane. So, folks, you have to take this seriously. Even if you're not necessarily in the cone of uncertainty, we're still going to get rain. We're still going to get winds. It's highly likely we will see some flash flooding. We will be impacted by storm surge. And in addition to that, people will likely lose power. So even if a person isn't impacted by a lot of rain, keep in mind the strong winds that are going to cut across the state could potentially take out your power. And when that is restored, really just depends on how quickly logistically that can be taken care of. So take a moment. If you have some time right now, you're already online, so please visit our website, news4jax.com. We have multiple articles there that are going to give you a breakdown as to what you can anticipate. There's currently 14 warnings, 3 watches, 2 advisories in effect within 14 regions within our area. So there's a listing there for you. All you have to do is go to our website. You'll see a banner on the main page. It will say weather alerts. All of the weather alerts will appear for you. And I'll turn my laptop around so you can see what I'm talking about. So when you go to our main page, you will click the weather tab. Right here, you're going to see where it says weather alerts. And then each county is going to be listed here for you. So you'll see, for instance, Clay County, it'll talk about flood warnings, as well as for Nassau. Bradford has a tropical storm warning. Alachua has a flood warning. Glenn Coastal Inland has a high surf advisory. So each county is going to have updates there for you. You'll also be able to see which areas are being impacted depending on the advisories or the warnings. So make sure you visit our website, news4jax.com. I'll have another update for you within the hour. Thank you so much for joining me for this update, and we'll continue to keep you informed as you get ready for Hurricane Milton. Jenese Harris, your Weather Authority Meteorologist and anchor. I'll see you soon.